Customer Crossing Wednesday LiveStream. My name is Steve Uhlberg, and I am pleased to be with you today. Going to take a little different turn than this is related to honoring people who are influences in our lives, but today I want to give a tribute to my good friend Jim Babcock, who was one of my bandmates, part of Jim and the Fat Boys. Um, he he died about 10 days ago, and his funeral is tomorrow in Kansas. And I'm leaving today to go and sing at the funeral with half of our band, um, Jim and one of the Fat Boys. That'll be me. We'll be singing. We all have these people in our lives who inspire us, delight us, surprise us, who make life richer and more worth living. And it also connects with dulcimer, because one of the ways I was introduced to Jim is as a dulcimer player. Jim lived in Robinson, Kansas, and we met at the Walnut Valley Festival when our mutual friend Jim Pierce introduced me to him at the festival, and we became friends. I was a dulcimer player since 1980, and this was after that. It was in the early 90s, so I've been playing for quite a while. But I never found a community. I was just always the person who played. And when you are one of those people who are in that situation, like a lot of us are, you're on the fringes, or you're in a place where nobody knows what that thing is you're playing. When you find someone who does, it's a big joy. And to be introduced to someone like Jim was just a real gratitude. And so we talked about things. We played dulcimers together. And there was a summer, I was serving as pastor of an inner city church. And there was a summer when we decided we were going to raise money to buy 30 backyard dulcimer kits. Now, if you're not familiar with these are cardboard dulcimers that you buy, and in bulk. You can have them put together, but we decided we're going to make this a project. And it was a perfect project because in our church library, now this sounds really fancy, doesn't it? This was a storefront congregation. It had been a tombstone cutting business and a washer and dryer repair before it became a dance center / worship center. So on Saturdays, New Horizons Dance Studio was there. We had mirrors on the one wall. Was not very big, but we'd chock it full of energy and spirit for all the activities we had. And one of these was our summer youth program, which would run for 6 weeks, Monday to Friday, 6 hours a day. Big investment in time. We had no money. We had to raise all the money from our partner congregations to hire and pay a staff. I would develop a curriculum idea, and then we would workshop this with the staff and flesh it out. So we had themes and we'd flesh it out. And this particular year, our theme was how can we sing the Lord's song in a foreign land, from Psalm 137. And that's why we decided we were going to have everybody build dulcimers so that we could have the children have a chance to play these. Well, I say we had the library because in it were a bunch of encyclopedias. When you're gluing up cardboard, encyclopedias are great because they provide just the right amount of weight to keep everything closed. And when you're in Kansas City, which is a very, very humid environment, getting things to dry, well, a combination of encyclopedias and fans made that possible. And so we got them all built. We got them dried. The kids got to decorate them. That was, it was a little bit more than what the kids were able to do the building. The older kids could, they helped, but the younger kids, they got into decorating each one. And then I took coat hangers and made hooks, and we hung them all around. There was I don't think it was really to display paintings, because this had been a tombstone cutting washer dryer business before it was a church. But we had a little rail that we could hang these on, like you would in Victorian time, where you'd hang your painting not with a hole in the wall, but hanging from something. Well, we hung the dulcimers up all around so that they'd have a place. They could be visible. We could get them down when it was time to have the class. And now, I was not that experienced in teaching dulcimer. I mean, I could sit with somebody one to one, but I wasn't very good with groups. Turns out my friend Jim was great with groups because he was a school teacher. He went to the University of Kansas. He was a school teacher. He taught all the grades from high school down to elementary. He was teaching at the local preschool in Robinson, where he came up with this song. He calls it the Wacky ABCs. And I love doing this with children all the time. And this is part of the tribute. I want you to do it with me. If I'm doing it wrong, you got to let me know. A, B, C, D, mac and cheese. No, not mac and cheese. What's next? Oh, I forgot E, didn't I? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Can I have some more cheese, please? No, that's not right. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Yeah, there we go. Q, R, S. TV's great. Yep. TV's not great? Don't you like TV? Oh, you like DVDs better. No. I got to go back to the beginning. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U. I forgot U. V, W, X, Y. I don't know. I forgot one. What I forget? I forgot. I forgot Z. I can't forget Z. With some of my kids who come from other countries, it's Z that got forgotten, just so you know. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me? And of course, when I'm doing it with children, someone will say me, and I'll say, oh, next time, won't you sing with Tim? No, not Tim. With Sam? Well, no, not with Sam. And they'll go through and it's like, with me. And I'll say, yeah, I'm saying with you. Next time, won't we sing with you? It's children. What the magic of what Jim understood is that children love correcting adults when we're wrong. So giving them an opportunity to do that is a wonderful, wonderful educational experience. And it creates mutuality and a lot of joy. And then I added this to Jim's thing. Z, Y, X, W, V, U, T, S, R, Q, P, O, N, M, L, K, J, I, H, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, mine, Z, Y, X is time next with me. Sing you won't. And at preschools, it's really fun to do that and watch the teachers take a little while to figure out, oh, is he going backwards? Is he going to do it? Can he do it? Can he do it? And some of them will even join in with me. Anyway, that was Jim. That was one piece of Jim. Just wacky. Because one year, he took a whole year sabbatical off from teaching in order to be a professional clown. His name was Cosmo. And he was a great juggler. He had dulcimers he'd built that had a handle on them this long. The dulcimer was about this long with the handle, and he would juggle dulcimers. And then he'd stop and he'd play it. He was fun. He was part of a group that would meet weekly to play music on the farm in Robinson, and they would sometimes get asked to play for other people. And they would set up so that they could hear each other, which meant their backs were to other people. And they'd say, if you can hear us, it's your own fault. And they had that was so fun. And being able to be with them in those weekly playing was great. But they also went to Winfield, the Walnut Valley Festival, to camp. And going down to their campsite, they had created this huge living room with a parachute, or a tent, and a rug on the ground, and comfortable chairs, and then playing chairs, and would play just like we did. We didn't have as fancy a setup as they did, but we also weren't close to the river, and we're less likely to be flooded, although everybody got flooded a few years. But hanging out with their group was really wonderful, and that's a part of what's going to happen in the service tomorrow. Is we'll get to go to the farm and play some music after the service. But we asked Jim, because of this experience he had with children, to come and be our teacher for Dulcimer at the summer youth program that whole week. And between teaching Dulcimer, and he was so good at getting the kids to not mess with, what don't we touch? We don't touch the tuning part, because we'd work at tuning them all. What do we touch? We touch this part. He just positive guiding of how, and they all played. It was beautiful. The other thing is, when he saw them all hanging up on the wall, he came and says, "Oh, it looks like you hung up your harps." And it was like, Jim, that is what the text is for this whole summer. How can we sing the Lord's song in a foreign land? By the river. There we hung up our harps. And anyway, so he taught. The kids loved him. He loved the kids. On the last day, everybody was gone, and we were all pretty played out from a whole week of this beauty. We used the dulcimers again later, but he helped us get started. But he and I were sitting there playing some tunes, getting used to what each other played and knew, and he had this one. This is one we're going to do for his service tomorrow. He called it Zen Song. Let me show you. I'm just in standard DAD tuning. And he had a dulcimer made by Sidney Martin in Colorado. Let's see if we can zoom out just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. That's better. We ended up recording this one. I don't know what's going on with my FaceTime camera while it's... We recorded this for our Jim the Fat Boys album called Zen Song. Zen song. Not complicated, just gentle. One of the blessings and beauties of a mountain dulcimer is it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be gentle. It's not tabbed yet, Doug. I'm going to be doing that. Since he was ill at the end, and when he passed, that's what I've been playing, and I'll write that down. It is, you can find it on Spotify or find it on the Owl Mountain Music website if you look for Zen Song to hear it. But he didn't write stuff down. He had a collection of a lot of stuff that was written down, but he didn't necessarily write it down. He just played it. Another one he did that was so... The other thing, his favorite picks were credit cards that he'd cut up. He said, I don't need these things anymore. And he'd poke holes in them with a nail, like 3 holes. So they had something that they were big enough. They had the point, like Herndon picks, which at the time were becoming popular. And they had something that made them grippable. And that was his favorite. That was his favorite pick. Another one we recorded together on our Bottle Up and Go album with Jim and the Fat Boys was his arrangement of Ash Grove with minuet and G. Let's see if I can remember the minuet part. Yeah, it's Bach's minuet and G. DGD tuning. So elegant to just put that Welsh tune together. The other thing that Jim was a real lover of and aficionado of is he played a national guitar. He was very clear it wasn't a dobro, it was a national. Sure enough, that's what it says right on headstock. And it was a tricone instead of this single cone, which was the dobro side of the Doperia brothers side of things. But I was so excited when I got this, and I took it to him and I said, Jim, you got to look at this. Look what I got. And because he played a national guitar where everything's in the order you expect it on guitar, with the low notes being over here and the high notes being over here, he tried to do this and he goes, oh, that's just wrong. But he brought some tunes to our band, like Lightning Hopkins' Bottle Up and Go. Over in East Texas, by Jefferson Town, they had no catfish, so they turned around because the fish ain't biting. The fish ain't biting no more. They're taking up the catfish and grinding up their bones. And then this would be typical of his solo. Call your lawyer on the telephone. Tell him leaving Texas on the next Greyhound. 'Cause the fish ain't biting, the fish ain't biting no more. They're taking up the catfish and grinding up their bones. Now, when I would sing these songs after the band had come and spent a week with us when we were recording, oh, this is a great memory. Our kids were in the local elementary school. And before we went over to do our recording for the day, we went over to the elementary school to have a playground gig. And Jim he played drums, but it was a box set. He found a meat packing box that has wax coating on it. Clean, it was all clean, but he cut it up so that the bottom part of the box he could face toward people, the open part of it, and he had a bass drum pedal, and that was the kick. So that connected to the bottom of it. And then the top part of the box, he cut a little bit of a slot over it because it would sit on top of the box, and that would be his snare. And he'd use brushes on the snare. And then he had a hi-hat, and he had a ride cymbal, and he had a cowbell. And he'd wear picks to play the dobro, but then he would keep them on his hands when he's playing, and he'd go tack tack. He would tap the cowbell with his metal finger pick every now and then. Anyway, he had kind of a whiskey and smoke voice. It's just the way it was. It's just Jim's voice. And when I would be doing one of these songs, my son would go, Dad, you're not making your voice sound like Jim's. It's like, that's because I can't. Call your lawyer on the telephone. Tell him leaving Texas on the next Greyhound. 'Cause the fish ain't biting no more. They're kicking up the catfish and grinding up. They're taking up the catfish and grinding up. They're taking up the catfish and grinding up their bones. Oh, Jim. Forever blessed. And that's the thing. We do get blessed by people. And that's what I want to foster today in this tribute of Jim Babcock, one of my bandmates from Jim and the Fat Boys, who died about 10 days ago. His funeral is tomorrow, and I'm flying to Kansas to sing at the funeral with one of our other bandmates, Jim Pierce. We all have these people in our lives. We are sometimes these people for other people, and we may or may not know it. But this is one of the reasons at Dulcimer Crossing we are happy. We are doing things where we get to be in person with people again, and that's terrific. But there are always going to be people who live on the edges, on the fringes, who don't have a community of players, who have difficulty with mobility or with access to where groups of people play. And one of the gifts that comes from the tragedy of the pandemic is we have figured out how we can still build human community when we can't physically be present. It's not the same, but it is a way for it to happen. And for people who don't live where they have access to the community, it is the community. And this is one of those things that happens here every week in our live stream at Dulcimer Crossing. It's our goal anyway. whether or not you feel it that way, that's our goal. That's what we're looking for. And that's what we do at Dulcimer Crossing is seek to foster a community of people who want to play the music they love on the instruments they love, and who want to bridge the gap between what they know to go where they want their music to grow. And at a live festival, what's the first question you ask when you sit down for lunch around the table? It usually has something to do with how did you and your dulcimer get connected. That's if it's at a festival that doesn't have dulcimer as a focus, we usually ask some question about, well, how'd you get to this festival? And somebody said, well, I came with my spouse or my child, or what do you play and where are you from? And we start building the community by finding, what do we have in common? What's different that I don't have access to where I live that you're bringing? And now you are the blessed resource that I didn't have before. Yeah, that's what I glory in. And so we call it our Dulcimer Tent Forum, which is the way Festival Tent Forum. It's the way that members at Dulcimer Crossing talk to each other. We always ask everybody who's joining, and we've asked the teachers to do this too, tell us your dulcimer story. How did you? And they're amazing. Somebody recently wrote in to say, I'm in a Civil War reenactment group, and they have people playing music, and I think they need a dulcimer in that group. So I'm learning how to play so I can be in that group and play and bring the dulcimer to the Civil War reenactment. Well, I love that story. Somebody else just wrote in to say, we were homeschooling our child, and piano lessons weren't it for our child. So what we decided to do was learn dulcimers. And everybody, mom, dad, and the child got a dulcimer. And we learned them for a while. And then, of course, grew up. Now child's going off to college. Well, mom is saying, it's time for me to play that dulcimer again. Music ebbs and flows. What is your story? Who are the people who have brought you to where you are today? Who are the guides you thank? That person that you sat by who was helpful. They were always at the festival. They were never on stage. They were never a teacher, but they were there and they welcomed me. They asked me how I was. They told me stories. They would tell other people about me. Sometimes I got gigs at festivals because of what this person, who wasn't a festival producer, wasn't a teacher, wasn't maybe even one of my students, wasn't someone who played on stage, but they made the connection. This is how communities are built. And sometimes I'll see somebody in my class, and I'll see somebody in my class and they'll be playing, they'll take another class, or they may never take another class. Next thing I know, they're a headliner at a festival somewhere. It's like, whoa, they're a national champion now. They're someone who tours the world playing dulcimers after, it's like, I only one dulcimer lesson with me. That's not the story. But there is somebody for whom this person just wanted to know how dulcimer worked, and we worked on it. It was a real blues focus in what she did. She sent me a recording. Sophie Reed sent me a recording after she did it. It's like, oh man, this is blues and soulful. And I really love where she has gone with her music. And I got to be there at one part of that, one step on that way. It's not, she's doing everything on her own, and there's other people I get to walk beside for a long period of time, but I still get to celebrate what they're doing. That's somebody like Jim Babcock. He played on stage, but he didn't headline a dulcimer festival. He didn't even go to dulcimer festivals. He went to music festivals. And so that's what I want us to remember, and I want to celebrate today. Who are those people in your life for whom you give gratitude? I lit my candle today, and I'll go and sing tomorrow. And we'll keep passing the music on in all the ways we can. And that's why Dulcimer Crossing is here. We want to equip you to do the same thing. So I thank you for tuning in. I thank you for what you do in the world where you live. I thank you for the new ideas that you're bringing to the dulcimer. I thank you for your treasuring of the old things. And I look forward to see what comes next. I also just want to say, because it was a ton of fun, and Doug, you'll enjoy this. Last night I got to be the guest conductor of the First National Dulcimer Orchestra, which meets online. And what I had them do was play one of the tunes that you worked on, Doug, that we recorded during the pandemic, Sherburne, which is one of the shape note fuguing tunes that's in the collection I'm working on. I keep finding more resources, and so I've got the little essay you write before the book is actually affecting the book, because now I can put a little more credits and things on there. It's really cool. Anyway, it's frustrating when you're waiting for the book to come out, but we learned that piece. And we also played through San Mateo Bridge. And I got to tell them the story and show them the picture and all that kind of stuff. So we got a lot done in just 45 minutes. But you've played both of those, and so I know you have a special appreciation for that. Just another way that people have stepped forward. And thanks for your condolences. There are many more people who are struggling. Because we connected with each other, our hearts get bigger. And that means there's more opportunities to bid farewell to people and send them across the river with a song. So today I will send you out to play the songs in gratitude for the people who have guided and supported you, and look forward to seeing you next